at least at our tourney venue, we're going to be implementing those restrictions upon them actually being effective on May 1st. In preparation for Akon Kage. Uh, and if you're practicing for the Kage, I suggest that you implement those rules in your Ninja Academy student, and you're getting rules whether you like the restrictions or not. You're gonna have to follow them at the Kage tournaments and the Jonins. So, but then after all that's done, um, you could just go back to how it was and not limit them. Uh, so what else can I discuss here? I guess I could go into why some of the cards needed to be restricted. I guess overall I can summarize it. Shadow Clone Jutsu is restricted because despite people saying that negation can stop it, that can be said for a lot of cards. The thing is, there's not enough negation to stop a an early game Shadow Clone Jutsu. Um, uh, Another thing is so yeah, negation. I mean, I think negation is the main complaint that people don't like it that Shadow Clone Jutsu was restricted. It's like draw your negation and you won't have a problem with it. Um, you guys might have an easier time playing Shadow Clone Jutsus, but wind decks don't really get chakra out as quickly as lightning does. So negation is not as easy as you make it sound, guys. It's not. Cause and if it were as easy as you make it sound, you Shadow Clone Jutsu would not be restricted. So if I was to say that if there was going to be a card in particular that would stop Shadow Clone Jutsu from being restricted, it would be a mission that prevents you and your opponent from using jutsus with more than 2 specific symbols in its cost. If that mission existed, then Shadow Clone Jutsu would not be restricted. If that mission was turn 0 as well. So pick your poison, guys. Shadow Clone Jutsu would eventually be belittled. You can't honestly expect a card like that to let it go through. But Jiraiya restricted because just because he's the best Jiraiya out there. He's too good a Jiraiya. And they want to open up to the rest of the Jiraiyas. It's perfectly fair, and I agree with it. Jiraiya is my favorite character in the series. While I say that Tsunade is my favorite card in the game, so I like to see the love be shown for the rest of the Jiraiyas. Um, uh, let's see, what was the next card? Just like Drifting Clouds. Fire, kind of this in the same sense as Jiraiya. It's the best at what it does, and it needs to be restricted. It needs to keep it. It's just for the sake of looking at different other draw missions and or other jutsus, pretty much. Look at the rest of the other draw missions. There are good ones still yet to be played. There's always secret activities, surprise, Shadow in the Moonlight, and Tsunade's Guess. Tsunade's Guess would be a good replacement in my opinion. Um, the next one, uh, just like Drifting Clouds, Jiraiya, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Let me just see this. Let me just pull it up here. I'm kind of surprised I don't have this pulled up. There we go. It was 5 cards. Okay, I'm sorry. 5 cards. Emiya, restricted because she single-handedly, for 2 reasons. She single-handedly countered Chain Lightning's fundamental weakness, and she single-handedly has shut down Mildex. Mildex is all the more thankful that she's restricted to 1. And That's the main reason. Those are the two bigger reasons. And I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody says. Amina is the most justified errata, is the most justified restriction on there. Uh, Gara, simply, he's also too good. He's just too good. There's too many. There are too many effective early game ninjas, and then later in the game they're kind of useless. Like say Shino and Bug Coins now. Uh, Chojis when you don't need to attack. It's just a. It's there are too many chumps now, so to speak. Um, there are too many chumps, and that's pretty much what it is. There are too many early game ninjas out there now that when their effect is taken care of, they've served their purpose, and Tragic Dame Gara is the best response to that. If you want to find a card that's the closest to Tragic Name's effect, use I would recommend the Structure Deck Super Rare from Coils of Snake. I believe that was the Overflowing Madness Gara. I think that's the name of the effect. It's where you give one damage to one of your ninja. If his team wins a victory or an outstanding victory, you can give one damage to one of your own ninjas. In that case, you can win one additional battle reward uh, after the showdown. Um, or you can go with or you could go with the Kremi Super Rare uh, from Coils the Snake. Whereas like if he gives any damage, you can discard one of your ninjas. That's the both kind of fundamentally doing the same thing. So if you want that, but other than that, you can just stick to ninth match and get him out sooner. So like I said, guys, these cards, it's not a horrible thing that they are restricted. Uh, More people in the game are thankful that they are restricted because they will now see different varieties of decks. It will bring a more pleasant atmosphere to the tournaments as well as the game. I um I firmly believe that uh I firmly believe that there will be, as I just said, a more positive energy at the tournaments as well as among other players. Uh and what I mean by that is like when the tournament is done, people can probably talk to each other about their decks more and their strategies. Instead of it's like saying you want to see like maybe a Dieter deck versus a Raiga deck, or a Ninja Dog Mill deck versus an IP deck maybe, or maybe a Chain Lightning deck versus a Ninja Dog Tempo, something like that. It's the combinations are a lot. The potential for the diversified matches are now more open than ever now. Um, and I think this is going to bring a lot more pleasant atmosphere to the game and the tournaments. Uh, uh and and compared to just going to a tournament and seeing the same deck over and over again, I think it'll be good. I think this is the best thing they can do for it. Um, Speaking of seeing the same deck over and over, you OC players, if you don't like these restricted cards, this was more targeted to the chain. This is like the OC Naruto decks. You can still go Lightning Fire, Naruto, and Sasuke. Those are still pretty good decks. It's just, of course, in the same sense, it's just still what, as you all will know, it's not as good and not as flexible as the chain light as the OC Naruto deck was. Now you have OC Naruto and Sasuke. Um, so if you really like the OC ninjas that much, you could still go that route. But OC Naruto, which was probably the strongest and most annoying deck so far, has been brought down to this on a more even playing field. Experiment, diversify, go card hunting, find your replacements, test them as soon as you can before the Kages, and try in the meantime to make a different deck with all the different cards out right now. You have the cards to make a different kind of deck. I firmly believe that every OC deck out there has the cards to make another deck that can be on an equal playing field as they are now, if not better. So I was as nice as I am right now. I am bringing a constructive criticism to those who don't like this list. Um, so happy card hunting, guys. Um, I really know y'all will do good in terms of it, but